Welcome back, Boardwalkers, to day 21 of our 100 Days Tiny Bird Challenge. Today's bird, we're going to paint the buff-sided robin. This is another one of those birds that is in Australia. And you can see I've got our robin drawn with his tail sticking up. Okay, so let's get started. I thought I hit the button when I dipped into my Payne's Gray to start filming, and apparently I had a technical difficulty. So let's go back in here and put this Payne's Gray in here on our head. And I want to avoid that eye and this little white bar across the top of the head here. And let's see if we can get this beak a little bit. Tap off my brush a bit because I've got a little bit too much paint on here. Now I just want to go a little bit under this neck for the shadow because this bird has a white breast. And then I'm going to continue with the Payne's Gray on the back of this tail where it's dark a little bit, but I'm going to leave a little bit of the area for the white patch of it on the back. And let's see if we can feather this tail out some. Now I want to skip this back section because that's where part of the buff coloring is on the bird. He's got a buff looking belly and side, and he's got a buff tail underside. So we're going to try and get in here. He's also got a white marking on this wing and on the tail end of the wings. So I'm going to try and get this in here, and I'm trying to get some dry brush feather in here some so that we can add some more color to it. He's kind of a dark brownish gray coloring where the rest of his body is not buff colored. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to leave some buff areas and leave the areas where he's kind of white. There's a weird, unusual, it looks like an X or a circle sometimes, depending on the bird. But there's like a white bar area on there. Let's see if we can round up this head some. Alright, now let me get, now our Payne's Gray is our usual ultramarine with burnt sienna, and then this brownish gray color is also a combination of ultramarine and burnt sienna, but it's a little more toward the burnt sienna color instead of the ultramarine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some of this brown in some of these other areas. And up on this wing, I'm going to hit some of these areas again. Layer it just a little bit more on the darker end down here and across these areas where we've left a little bit of this white. And let's hit this head a little bit. Now I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Payne's Gray because I need to have a slight bit of separation on this eye and this white patch. It needs to be a little bit of gray in there. Get that head in there really nice, along with the neck feathers. There we are. And get this beak looking a little bit better right here. There we are. All right, now I want to go in with my buff color. And my buff color is a mixture of Daniel Smith's Buff Titanium and just a hair of yellow cadmium. And this buff color is going to be on his, like I said, on his underside of his bottom, all the way up to his breast a bit, and his side. And this part right in here, there's a little bit of white. There's also a little bit of yellowish buffy color right here on the back. So let's get that in there. I want that in there really bright. And if it blends in on my other color, that's okay, because we kind of want it to blend in a little bit. All right. Now I am going to take this buff color and add it to my tree. That way I can incorporate some of that dominant color of the bird into my tree somewhere else in the painting. And we're going to put the rest of that tree color that we use, which is our brownish gray color. Try and miss these feet because I need to go back in there on the feet with some good Payne's Gray. And let's see if we can get our eye in. I need a really dark bit of that color. I apologize for the shadows again. The sun can't make up its mind whether it wants to be shining all day or if it wants to be partly clouded these days. All right, there's my eye. I need to go in with these legs. And let's see if we can get in there with our feet. Oh, no, can't do my feet quite yet because that is still pretty wet. But we can go in and fix this beak while we're waiting on that to dry. And put put some more dark on this head because we really want some good contrast with that white eyebar. And fix up some of these corner wing here. All right. Now, let's see if we can blend this out a little bit. And while we're waiting on this to dry, let's see if I can go in here and put a little bit of definition in this back of the tail here with this ballpoint pen. I keep saying ballpoint pen, but it's not a ballpoint pen, it's a fountain pen. Oh, me. Alright, we're going to put in some little streaks, some darker contrast streaks, because I need this white back here on this tail to pop, and this to give us a little bit of definition. And there we go with the fuzziness that I want on this tail. Alright, let's see if we can get these going. Get us a little bit of definition on this wing here. I just want to bring this out of just a hair. And let's see if we can get these feet in here a little bit better. Nope, we can't. It's still a little too wet. Alright, let's continue with our head though. We can get that going. And get a little more definition on this beak. And get that in there. There we are. And maybe just a hair on the eye. There, we got it. Alright, that'll work. Let's get our definition on our legs at least. We can get that much done. And then just a couple of little spots down here on this part of our body. Alright, that's going to have to work. Now, let's get our paintbrush and see if we can blend this out any. And we just want a small, damp little bit of water to kind of pull this out across our tree. Maybe he's standing on a spot that's really bad discolored. And let's see what we can do here. Maybe put a little bit of definition in there. Well, maybe his feet are on the other side of this branch, part of his feet. We're just going to go with that. because there's only so much we can do with our painting when the watercolor decides to do what the watercolor wants to do. All right, so I think we're done there. This is our buff-sided robin. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This one was a little bit longer because I got a little bit more detail in there. I get carried away with the details, guys. So I'm trying to make these as short and quick as possible since we're doing 100 of them. Look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. Goodbye for now.